What's good, y'all? So we are going to be doing a little story time video today. Man, it has been a long time since I did one of these. The story we're going to be covering, as I'm sure you saw in the thumbnail and in the title, is the time I got bit by a black widow and didn't go to the hospital. Now, for those of you who don't know, I do live in Canada, and the part of Canada that I live in does have a species of black widows that live here. They're small, they're not very big. I don't think black widows are very big anywhere, and they don't bite very often, apparently, the ones that live here. But man, them bites hurt. I could tell you that much. So let's just give you the story. So basically it was at my last apartment I lived at, and that apartment was more in like, not as nice area as I live right now. It was a lot more ghetto, and I would see them outside quite often. You didn't see them inside very often, but when I did, I get rid of them. But you see them every once in a while. But like I said, they're not known for biting out here. It's not like a very common thing. So at one point, I had a pipe burst in my bathroom when I was living there, and it flooded my bedroom. So I had to move everything out of the bedroom, and I had to throw out like my bed frame, everything like that. One of the only things I had left was like my mattress and then stuff like my computer and stuff like that. Anything that was on top of stuff, but anything that was on the floor, I had to get rid of, and I had to move everything out of my room. So I ended up having my mattress in my living room for, I don't know, it was a couple, like maybe 2 weeks max, and like I was like sleeping on that. Okay, and it was just like I just put the mattress on the floor because I was waiting till like I ordered a new bed frame and got the room back before I could do that, right? So one night I'm sleeping and it's like 6 a.m., 5 a.m., somewhere in there, and like my leg is just hurting, like right here on my leg, right here. Okay, I'm gonna try and find the picture from this because I have a picture somewhere of how bad the leg was, but I don't know for sure if I'm gonna be able to find that, but I'm gonna look. I might have to go ask my mom or whatever. Okay, so my leg just like it's hurting. Like this really weird pain, but I'm thinking like I had been doing some training the other day, so maybe I hurt it or something like that. But it's like I'm lying there and I can't sleep, and it's getting worse and worse. And then so I take my hand and I touch it. And when I tell you I touch it, so it was like right here at the bottom of what is this? This is the calf, whatever muscle this is right here. It was right at the bottom of that. And I feel it, and there's like a bump. And when I say a bump, like this is your skin, it was like that big. It was one of the biggest welts I've ever had. Like that big, and it was like around like half a baseball cut off and like right there. And it hurt to the touch. So immediately, like I feel that, and I'm like, what the F is this? So like I jump out of bed, I'm like turning the lights on, and like I'm looking at it, right? So it's like it's this giant welt once I get a look at it, and there's like a black, like it's black, and there's like a blue reddish circle around it. Like it looks messed up. Like really, really, really messed up. And I'm like trying to figure out what happened because like I'm a person who gets hurt a lot and doesn't notice it, but like this was a bit much. But then I'm like looking at it, and like I've got my light and I'm looking at it, and I notice like right in the pretty much center of the big ball there's like a spot where there's two like little like hole. I don't really know how to exactly describe them, but like where the two like little fangs or whatever from a spider would go in, there's like two little dots. Okay, and I'm like, what the fuck? So like I look at my bed, and I like move the covers, and I find a dead little one of the black widows like right near where my leg would have been, and it looks like I like hit it or whatever, or I rolled my leg somehow while I was sleeping. It bit me, and I killed it, or I rolled on it, or whatever. I don't really know. Um, so I'm there, and now I'm like, oh fuck. Like I just got bit by one of these things. And I'm gonna be honest with you, like it looked really bad, it hurt really bad. And now I'm like, well, how bad are these really? Now I'm like, so I live in Canada, okay? So now, as an American, you might not understand this, but now I'm faced with the decision of how agonizing this is going to be versus how agonizing a trip to the hospital would be. Because I know for something like this, especially something obscure like this, I'm going to be there for a couple days. It's going to be 12 hours before I see the first nurse if I'm lucky, right? I'm going to be having to wait in there. My leg is killing me. I don't have any family who lives near me. At this point, I wasn't able to drive because my eye was still too messed up. So I had like a little period where I couldn't drive because of that. So I'm like, what the fuck? So I go online and I research how deadly black widow bites are. Now I find that what the recommendations for this type of black widow was, yes, you should definitely go to the hospital, but no, they're not often deadly if you get them treated. So the way I thought about it, now this is me, do not copy what I do, okay? Don't. Don't. But in my head, I was like, well, if the average person goes to the hospital and has a better chance of living, I'm like, well, the hospital is only going to make it worse. I could recover better here, so I'm going to stay home. That was my logic, and that's what I decided to do. And you know what? I stand by it because the hospital visit would have been horrible. And like, so here's what ended up happening. So the pain got worse, and like there was a point where it was like a 9.5 pain on 10, but there wasn't like a ton of necrosis or anything, and it didn't look like it was like getting in my veins or anything. It just was that one spot, and like when I say it was like the welt was this big, and like it was like my leg from like here to here was like black, basically. Um, and so later that day, there was times where I was getting like really lightheaded. I had a fever for about a day and a half, like a really bad fever. Nasty headaches. Like it was bad. Like it was bad. It was bad, bad. The only time I've had it worse than that is when I had H1N1 and almost died. But this and that were like the closest. So it was not fun. Like I was cold sweats, freezing, but like temperature all day, like way higher than it should be. Um, Headache, like I felt awful. But but after about a day, every like the leg hurt for like 3-4 days before anything changed. But after a day, it stopped getting worse. So that was a good sign. And now, even when it got to like I remember I was on my couch, like freezing, like such a headache, like I couldn't think, I couldn't even like all the lights off, I couldn't even be in light. And I remember this is how bad Canadian hospitals have gotten. So I've got like my blanket, and I'm there, and I just remember thinking in my head, like, this is horrible, but still better than if I went to the hospital. Because yo, I'd have had to been doing that in a fucking waiting room with people everywhere. Hell no. I'd rather do that at home, so at least when it breaks, like I could chill on the couch or something. And like, I don't like being around a lot of people. So to me, like, it was the better idea for me. Probably not for any of you. I would strongly recommend nobody else copy me. I have to say that for YouTube, but don't copy me. But man, it was a very interesting experience. So it ended up subsiding, and like the more it went down, the more it looked like a spider bite, because I had other spider bites from spiders that weren't so deadly. And the way you get like those two little dots and then it sort of swells up around it, the more it was visible as the swelling went down. And after like the first 2 or 3 days, all of the sickness stuff went away. My leg, the pain started going away and the swelling after like 4, maybe 5 days. And then like it was like a really unnoticeable level of pain after like 2 weeks, and then completely unvisible like a month. Yeah, like a month later you couldn't see it. Maybe a month and a bit later you could not at all see it. But it was like an interesting experience. I remember I went and saw my doctor like probably 2 months after this happened for something else, and I mentioned it and I showed the picture because I had taken like a bunch of pictures. And obviously, like, I'm not dumb. When it got to a point, I would like draw around it with a pen to see how bad the swelling was getting. That's how I know kind of exactly when it got better and worse and stuff like that. But I showed my doctor, and she was like, "You didn't go to the hospital?" And I was like, "No." She's like, I remember she was just like that. Like, she didn't know what to say. She was kind of like, "You're insane." And then she was like, she was like, "Didn't it hurt?" And I was like, "Yes, but it didn't hurt as much as it would have if I was experiencing it in the waiting room." And then she kind of understood why I didn't go to the hospital, but she did still say, "Hey, go to the hospital." I remember I asked her, I was like, "Can you confirm that it's this?" And she's like, "No, I couldn't diagnose you with that, but what you're telling me, if you found the dead spider, what you have here looks like a really bad spider bite. You found the dead spider, and these are like one of the only species here of spider that could really do that. So she's like, 1 plus 1 is 2. If it looks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Like, I found the dead spider. I have a picture of the dead spider somewhere too, probably in one of my old phones. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find those, but I am gonna look a little bit. But yeah, that's the story of when I got bit by a black widow and did not go to the hospital. Would I go to the hospital again? No, probably not. Maybe if I was in the US or somewhere where, I would have been seen within a day, within a few hours, yes. But I did not want to go experience all that in the waiting room. I've had other medical issues. Like, I have to get to a certain bar of medical threshold before I'm going to go to the hospital, right? I'll go to a doctor's appointment later or something and just make sure, but that's about it. But yeah, like, it was extremely painful. Like, and I don't mean this to like gloat or anything, but like, for those of you who don't know, when I was younger, I got jumped and robbed for like an iPod. That's how I don't have very good vision in this eye. The dude ran up, like, I was like 15, 16, somewhere like that. And this dude was like 25, and he ran up behind me, jumped and punched me in the back of the head, and I like lost my footing, and I hit the side of a sidewalk here. And so it messed up my eye, but it also like gave me a bunch of trauma in my head and like brain damage and like fucked up my body. And like gave me a bunch of trauma through my body. So like I just have a lot of pain. Like, the pain level that I have on a daily basis is enough, like, where most people would be going to the hospital anyway and saying like, "Yo, it's 10 on 10." But there's nothing really I could do about it. It just is like that. So I've just kind of learned to live with it. So I think like I've developed like a much higher tolerance from pain than most people, because I've realized too, like, I messed up my rib a little while back, and I had to go to the doctors twice because the first time I went, I was trying to tell them how much it was hurting, but they were like, "No, it would be hurting way more." And then if it was this, then I realized later, I was like, "Oh, it probably is hurting that much," but I just like consider it as less pain than the average person would, just because of what I'm used to. And so when I went back, and I was like, "Oh, I have to just pretend it's like, say it more than it is." And they did the test. They're like, "Oh yeah, you have a fracture here." So I just and apparently it was bad and like really bad. It did hurt. It still does hurt a lot, but I have other things that are way more painful. So whereas that might be a 10 for some people, because it's less painful than other stuff, I guess it's like a 7 or a 6 for me. So I guess that's kind of how I did it. But for somebody who lives on their own and doesn't have any family who live near them and didn't tell anybody about what happened, I guess that part was a little unsafe. But you know what? I'm here to live to tell about it. I got no more marks. That spider ain't here. I'm still here. Tough guy. Got bit by a black widow. Didn't go to the hospital. You got a better story than that? I'm playing with y'all. Anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed that one. I appreciate everyone who's been supporting. I'm gonna keep doing more videos. I'm trying all kinds of stuff in my long form content, seeing what works, seeing what I enjoy. So expect a lot of videos. Short's been going crazy. Appreciate everyone who's been watching those, and shout out to all the new subscribers. I know I've been having a lot of y'all. Got over 2.6K in the last week or so. So I really appreciate that. Appreciate all of y'all. I'm still going to be coming at y'all with the lives, just covering random topics or whatever I enjoy. Also, for all the new subscribers, over on another channel with my friend Pino, I have a podcast over there. I work for a hip hop network in Canada. So if you look We Love Hip Hop up on YouTube, I do a bunch of stuff over there. I also have my Instagram, A.G.B underscore raw underscore talk, fastest growing prison Instagram channel. It's completely different content than what you get over here. All of those channels have completely different content. It's not like you're going to go on each of those channels and get the same content. So when I promote them, completely different content, completely different ecospheres, so all kinds of different stuff for you to enjoy. And yeah, let me know what you felt. Sorry. Let me know how you feel about this down in the comments. Have you ever been bitten by a black widow or a poisonous spider or a snake or anything venomous like that? I'd love to hear about it. Let me know. How do you feel about my story? Would you have gone to the hospital? Should I have gone to the hospital? Am I insane? Did I make a good decision? What do you know about the Canadian medical system? Let me know. I want to hear it all down in the comments. But other than that, I hope everyone here has a blessed day. Stay blessed. Stay great.